Cues with the Beauts. I need to come up with a far better intro. It's been so long since
you should get like some
cues.
symbols or like
I need something like I need a little,
I want like a mariachi band behind you. Yeah.
I like it. You know what? We'll work on that mariachi band next cues. So be sure to get your questions in for that one, ladies and gents. But we've got some good questions queued up for us today. I will start the first one to you, Miss Alexis. Wild hockey fan for life wants to know, what's with our pathetic special teams? Right off the bat, we love it. Seems like Dean has too much personal investment in players he'd like to do well, rather than just accepting poor aspects of their games and leaving them on the bench or in the press box, which I believe is directed at one specific centerman that Dean seems to love, Frederick Gaudreau. That's my guesstimate because I see y'all in the mentions. I know your disdain for Freddie G. I don't really get it, frankly. Kind of get it, but Alexis, anyway, what is your take on Wild Hockey Fan for Life's comment and question?
I really don't know, because special teams is just, I mean, it's not like they haven't tried different things, right? I mean, special teams has kind of been an issue for the Wild all season. And it's really started to rear its head. I mean, there's been stretches where the Wild have gone like 0-10 on the penalty kill over 3 games. I mean, there's been stretches over the season where it's been really bad. Then there's been times where it's been okay, but for the most part, it's been at the bottom of the NHL standings as far as penalty kill goes. And we talked about this in last week's episode, so go check it out. It was our Up for Debate last week if you haven't yet, but talking about like our biggest area of concern with the Wild right now, and mine is special teams. And then the Wild continued to shit the bed with special teams in the next couple games and made us look really smart. So I don't know what the issue is. And I think for the most part, Dean has done a pretty good job as his time as head coach of the Minnesota Wild of kind of having this, like, I don't care who you are. I don't care how much you make. I don't care what line you play on. If I want to fix something or change something, I'm going to do it. At the same time, there does seem to be something about Freddie Gaudreau that Dean really loves. And keep in mind, Dean and Freddie go way back. They've known each other for a long time. And you'll see this with coaches and GMs sometimes where they really have like this extra faith in a player that maybe the fans don't see, but the coaches know more about them. And so they know what they're capable of. And maybe Freddie is capable of that. And we just haven't seen enough of it at certain points as fans to fully agree with the way Dean sees it. But I don't know what the ultimate issue is. All I know is they got to figure it out, because special teams concerns the heck out of me right now. And especially, I mean, even if you look at like St. Louis, which there was some bad calls in that game where they lost in OT. But it's like, I mean, you got to be able to kill a penalty, whether it's a bad call, a good call. I don't care what it is. You have to be able to kill it. And so I don't know what the issue is, but they got to figure it out. Jesse, anything stand out to you?
I mean, nothing more than what you had said, right? And I think Dean obviously knows his players better than the surface value that any of us fans or even media know, right? Like, so I do trust, to me, you know, he chooses the right players. Certainly I do see the loyalty he has to some and his unwillingness to change things, almost a stubbornness in certain aspects. I think ultimately he doesn't know what the answer is for special teams, right? Like we've like directly asked him, and don't forget, he's not the only coach on special teams. I think Darbs is actually in charge of special teams. So those questions might be better directed toward him. But you know, it's one of those things that it needs to get figured out, especially if they're going to be on the PK as often as they seem to be as of late, not just from their own frustrations, but kind of penalties that aren't baby penalties, phantom penalties, whatever. Go listen to our episode this week for our details on those. But yeah, so I mean, nothing substantial to add. Alexis, what else we got for questions?
Next question from Derek Felska. Delay of game for a puck over the glass. Good rule or bad rule? Jesse, I like this question. What do you think?
I do like this question. I kind of, I'm so torn on it because I kind of hate it. Right. Because sometimes you can't help it. Right. Like sometimes it just, I only like it if it's a very deliberate action. It's sort of like pushing the bearings of the goal off. Right. Like you did that so you could get a call or you could stop the puck because you need a breath. So I don't like it because most of the time I think it's very inadvertent and it's not intended to do anything. It just happens in the course of the game. So that's I guess I'll stick hard on that. I'd say I don't like it. Alexis, do you have a different opinion?
Delay of game penalties are so frustrating. They could be such backbreakers when they happen. But I think if you get rid of the penalty, you're going to see the exact reason they instituted it to begin with is guys are just going to throw the puck out of play. That's why they brought the penalty in place, was because they want you to work hard to get the puck out of the zone. They don't want you to just dump it out of play and throw it into the stands. They want you to battle to get it out, send it down the ice, maybe be forced to take an icing call, whatever it is. So as much as I hate the delay of game penalties, and as rare as it is that someone actually does it, no one does it intentionally anymore because they know it's a penalty.
Right.
So it's frustrating because you're like, man, they didn't mean to do that. They're just trying to bank it off the boards, or the puck rolled on them at the last minute and got, sent out into play or into the stands. I think if you get rid of the penalty, it's just going to be almost more frustrating because you're going to see more stoppages of play. It's going to slow the game down. And
don't you do that to me. I don't want no stoppages of play. Come on.
We have strict bedtimes we're trying to stick to here. Deadlines on stories and all that stuff. So I don't think you can get rid of it, as annoying as it can be to have your team take one of those penalties. So that's where I'll stand on that.
I like it. That's a good point. I'll agree. Wow.
Yay.
Yay.
When the Beauts agree. Jazz hands.
I should do two. I don't know why I just did one. Yay. This one looks smaller. That's weird. Anyway. Also from Derek Felska, our Minnesota Wild fans, unfair in their harshness toward Jordie Benn, or is it warranted?
It's okay. So it's tough. I think if you're like Jesse and I who work in the sport, it's a lot harder to really be critical of the players in the sense where you're really dogging on them. I think so. I feel bad at this. Like when I was a kid and I watched hockey, I'm like, this guy sucks. That guy sucks. Now I'm like, I get it. It's tough. Like they're trying their best out there. But I do think at the same time, with how good this Minnesota Wild team has been, I think that's why someone like Jordie Benn tends to stand out sometimes, is because the Wild are doing so well as a whole that anyone who has even relatively a bad game at this point, it's like, it's so noticeable because the rest of the team is playing so well. So I don't think Jordie Benn is the worst hockey player on the planet. I just think at times he makes some egregious mistakes that, because the rest of the team is playing so well, it stands out so much to a fan to be like, oh my God. And some of the mistakes he's made have led to goal. I mean, especially as a defenseman, the minute a defenseman makes a mistake, it's like, it's either going to be a good scoring chance or a goal or both. And it's just
like an overtime game winning goal.
Yes. So I get it. I don't disagree necessarily with the fans who get upset with him and have things to say about the way he plays. But like I said, at the same time, I think it's more so just that everyone else around him has been playing so well this year that his bad play stands out pretty badly when it does. Jesse, we all know how you feel about him. What do you think? Are the fans unfair?
Hashtag Jordie Benn bad. It's no, I mean, again, he's not the worst player. He's just not very good. I don't think it's the harshness. Minnesota Wild fans always take it a little bit further, right?
Yeah,
they lose one game, burn it all down. Like it's a little aggressive. And he certainly, credit to him. And I had said it too in the pod, like he stepped up when they needed him to, when, oh my God, Jonas Brodin. I almost forgot Brodin's name.
How dare you disrespect Jimmy like that?
I know, right? When you had him out and he had to step up. I mean, he's had flashes of good, but ultimately, no, I don't think he's a very solid defenseman. That's why he's so in and out of the lineup, mostly out.
Do you think, let me ask you this quick, because I think what people's biggest issue with it, maybe not biggest, but something that they use to argue a lot is like, we have Calen Addison. Why is Calen Addison not playing when you see the way
issue?
You don't think that has to do with it?
No, I mean, we talk about this in this week's episode, why Calen is in Iowa and the patience that they're taking with him. And to me, Calen hasn't done anything super great necessarily that warrants him to take that spot necessarily, because Jordie Benn has the experience, the veteran presence. That's why I think they want to keep him up here to have that option versus Addison. And Addison's made his mistake. Every defenseman has made their share of mistakes, right? Unfortunately for Jordie Benn, as you had said, Alexis, they're very noticeable mistakes that more often than not end up with him in the negative column. I should have probably looked this up, like what his plus minus is this year, because it doesn't feel like it's probably very good. And I think the other reason that Wild fans are so on him is, in most cases, again, as I had referenced the St. Louis game, it's a game-winning goal or a big goal that he is kind of the resulting factor in. So it's a little harsh, yes, but I'm for it because he's not that good to me, in my opinion.
And you got to be able to critique, you can't,
I'm never afraid to I'll never tell a guy he sucks to his face, but I'll write it maybe. I don't know.
But it's wrong to assume that everyone on your team is fantastic all the time. So I don't think it's unfair to critique players when they have bad games or bad seasons, and it happens. I mean, sometimes they do have bad seasons.
It doesn't make them a bad person, but it's like, it's your job and you chose this job that allows people to criticize you. If someone tells me my writing sucks, like, okay, well, I'll do better. Like, sorry. Your podcast, I don't like your voice. Like, things I can change. Like, for him, change and like just be a little bit better of a hockey player, right? Like, I can't change my face, so if you don't like that, like, I'm sorry.
Well, you could.
Like,
it would just be expensive.
If you fund it, I will do it. So that's good to know.
Fund Jesse's plastic surgery.
Please don't. I know. I'm good. I'm fine.
I'll pass on that too. All right. Last question here from Hockey and Loud Music. Why does Zuccarello always serve the bench minors or extra penalties on majors? Jesse? Does Dean have a vendetta against Matt Zuccarello? I know. I saw this question like,
there's got to be a game plan to it, right? Like maybe because you want, he's capable to hop in once he comes out of the box, and like he's the guy that can do that and jump in the play. I'm not really sure. I do find that odd because to me it does seem weird. It's like, well, why would you want one of your best players missing a shift, right? Like that seems kind of different. But it's a good question. I feel like there's like a story here because it's definitely a thread I want to pull just in general. Like, how do you select that person, right? Like usually it is a player that is, limited minutes anyway. So it's like, hey, get in there. We don't really care if you're not missing, but Zuccarello does find it odd. Alexis, do you have any insight on it?
What's funny is I Googled this because I thought it was a great question. And I'm like, well, I know it's got to be somebody who's on the ice at the time the penalty's committed, right? Like you can't just pick anybody, your fourth liner or somebody throw them in the box. It's got to be somebody who's on the ice. So there's that. But I assumed they were asking the question because Zuccarello is one of the best players on the team. And so I Googled it and I'm like, I wonder if there is some kind of method to the madness here. And I couldn't find anything. So I'm like, okay, so maybe there's not a method to the madness. But I think what you said is what I would say too, is that, a lot of times when the guy jumps out of the box, if you want them to get right back into the play, you want somebody who can probably mesh well with whoever's on the ice, and one of your top players is going to be that guy. Right. So I think that's maybe why they put Zuccarello in there. That would be my best guess, but it's a great question because I've never really thought about it before. It would be interesting to like poll coaches and be like, hey, how do you decide like who you put in the box in these situations? I wonder if it depends on, what the score of the game is, who your opponent is. I'm sure there's a lot of things that go into it, but maybe we're just,
or maybe not. I was going to say we're probably like, and that's
maybe they draw a name out of a hat.
I want to pull the thread. I have so many stories like that, right? Which is the reason I'm a reporter, is because I get curious, right? And I just love to like find out the answers, even if they're stupid. So it's like, for all we know, he's like, I don't know. It's just what he wanted to do. Or like, maybe it literally could end there.
I'll give you $10 the next time it happens to ask Dean about it in a post-game press conference. I will literally Venmo you $10.
Does it have to be post-game, or can they do it like at a practice?
It has to be a post-game in a situation where it happened in that game. I will Venmo you $10. I'll Venmo you $10.
Ask Dean. Scared. Okay. We'll see what happens tonight.
It could be tonight. It could be next week. It could be make it. I'll double.
I mean, it has to be after. It has to be after a week in the playoffs. The biggest concerning question that Jesse Pierce has. He's gonna walk out of the room on me. He's gonna be like, "You are dumb, man."
That would be hilarious, though. It'd be great content.
that ain't worth $10, but we'll see. Get my credential pulled. Just life's over.
Like, I don't know. Alexis told me to. I'm sorry.
Stupidest question anybody's ever asked.
They come up to the press box and pull me out like they're taking me to jail. They're like, "You did this."
You too. Bardown Beauties fails. Our lives are over. I have to sell the house. Probably auction off the kids. Just all for
your husband divorces you.
The things. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this week's episode of Cues with the Beauts. As always, we appreciate you. Be sure you go check out this week's ep with Joe O'Donnell. He is awesome. We are awesome. We also chirp officials, so don't want to miss that out. As always, thanks to all of you. Share, like, subscribe, rate, all of it. Mwah. Peace, love, harmony. Bye.